I never thought 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐳 could be this strong, from both weapons being the hardest to attain in the game, to watching this result is unbelievable. If you want a high-octane, action-packed build that combines the grace of a samurai with the brute force of a Shogoki, this is for you. With the elegance of a seamless weapon swap mid-combat sway to its formidable nature, the fast-killing instant death on display, and sheer fear, this instills in its foes. What you have here is a force to be reckoned with. Bloodwork is all I can think of to call this build. I mean, isn't it obvious? Listen here, even though you're witnessing carnage, I still don't believe this build has reached its peak of power, but I couldn't wait any longer. There's no more time to waste. Let's get straight into the build. Now, you're going to have to be a little bit further in the game in order to make this complete build, simply because some of the weapons that you have to get require you to play the main story, and along the way with the main story you have to fight certain enemies that drop the weapons that you need. Now, the primary that I'm using is called the 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐻. Of course you guys know about this. Just look at how cool it looks. First of all, this thing just looks awesome. It looks kind of like 𝐜𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐻's blood-shade katana, but I like this one better because you can literally see the serrated aspect that literally makes them bleed. So this is what it does. Bleed kills enemies below 2 health segments. I added on here plus 600% affliction buildup with posture attacks. I know you've noticed that the developers with the 1.0.2 patch, the first big patch of Assassin's Creed, nerfed the plus 600% affliction buildup with posture attacks. Now, I don't know if the devs couldn't make up their mind or what, because this doesn't make any sense. If you weren't aware, plus 600% affliction buildup is still in the game, just not with posture attacks. Instead, it's with when you deal damage to vulnerable enemies. So it doesn't really matter that they took the other one down to 6%, because you still have plus 600% right here. So all I did was swap out that for this. I don't know what the devs are going to do about this. Maybe it was intentional, maybe it was unintentional. I don't know. I'm genuinely confused. But for now, I'm still going to be using it because this is pretty much best in slot for a build like this. Because the strategy that you want to utilize here is deal as much damage as you can, but they have to be right near that bleed threshold so that when you deliver that final blow, they instantly get killed. Sometimes it's a hit or miss, but most of the time it works out in your favor. There's only one way that you can achieve this: by dealing as much damage as you can. I know that you see that my build has all legendary, and 𝐜𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐻's builds are infamous for having all non-legendary gear on. Epic. So that you can utilize Oni's Fury, which basically gives you 15% damage per non-legendary gear equipped. But this armor is specifically why I don't need all epic gear and I don't need Oni's Fury. This engraving grants plus 75% damage, but limits health to 25%. I wouldn't say you're a glass cannon, but you can't take as many hits as you would if you didn't have this engraving. I think it's worth it because with the Protector's armor, you can parry unblockable attacks. And if you're efficient enough, you won't ever get hit. This is what I was talking about, it being a high risk, high reward, which means it comes with a high skill gap. I consider myself pretty efficient in parrying, and I just love the challenge. So this works perfect for me. The parrying is very significant on this build. Oh, and before I forget, here's the legendary armor. It's called the Samurai Daimyo Armor of Legend. That allows you to get that 75%. Just look it up on YouTube where to find this. I actually can't remember where I did find it at, but it's very simple to find if you just look it up. Now, the reason why parrying is significant in this build is because of the Vengeful Foe, the Naginata that you need. And it had me questioning, why am I even using the 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐻 if I have this? This thing is brutal. The way it cuts through enemies is ridiculous, man. It also has a serrated aspect, so yeah, this thing is crazy. And with the Protector's armor, the Vengeful Foe afflicts plus 35% bleed buildup on a successful parry. Whenever I parry an enemy, this doesn't go to 35%, it goes to halfway or more. So with 2 parries and a couple of hits, they're already afflicted with that whole bleed hemorrhage. Not to mention that the Vengeful Foe has bleed buildup on it by 18%. And here's the other engraving that you need on this weapon. I honestly don't think there's another one that's better than this. It's where you instantly charge posture attacks when pressing light or heavy attacks on hit. So you'll see 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾 light up after you connect, which prompts you to hit the heavy attack or the light attack, so you can continue this endless combo. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are posture attacks, which are the hardest hitting attacks in the game. Combined with enemies that are vulnerable after parrying, this thing is just a menace. You can get this engraving from the Lengthened Horizon, located here on the map, far west, up in the corner. It's just sitting in a legendary chest, so it's very easy to attain. Once you get that, just slot it into the Vengeful Foe and you have a match made in heaven. Of course, this is subjective, but one of the only other engravings that I recommend on the Vengeful Foe is the engraving wherein all melee damage is considered poison affliction. This is what gives me the reason to use the Crimson Edge alongside the Vengeful Foe, because the Vengeful Foe is so dominant that it seems like that's all I want to use sometimes. But I like the variety, and if you put that poison on the Vengeful Foe, it'll give you that variety you need. Because 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾 has something on the mastery under the samurai section that allows you to swap weapons. It's called Link Attack. You swap weapons during a combo to transition a quick attack while switching to your alternate weapon, extending your combo. So in this case, it's not only extending my combo, but it's allowing me to use the Vengeful Foe in tandem with the Crimson Edge to apply the poison, so that you'll have a bleed plus poison build, just like 𝐼 has. It's just a little different way to do it. This also requires a higher skill gap because you have to simultaneously swap weapons mid-combat. Now, 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾 does a shoulder charge, which gives you a window and damages the enemy and interrupts them so that it allows you to swap to that weapon, but it still requires some coordination and skill to pull this off. For me personally, I just think that it's more beneficial to use all bleed and just annihilate anything on screen. With 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾, he's more so a damage dealing brute, so you want to kill enemies as fast as possible and get them out of there as quick as possible. All bleed with the Crimson Edge and the Vengeful Foe will allow you to do that. Here's the helmet. It's a set piece that comes with the Protector's armor, and this is also an amazing engraving. You deal 50% damage to the attacker on parry. Now, if you're using this with the Crimson Edge or the Vengeful Foe, it's going to increase. This effectively gives you Vengeful Foe's engraving on Crimson Edge, and it increases the bleed buildup on Vengeful Foe, because the damage, since both of the weapons that you have equipped carry bleed buildup, it's going to apply 18% bleed buildup on parry. And when you parry, the enemy becomes vulnerable, which leads me to my next engraving, 24% damage when hitting vulnerable enemies. This build couldn't have better synergy than it has now. And for my legendary amulet, I have 100% critical hit chance on the next hit after a finisher, plus 24% posture damage on next hit after a deflect. So all of this stuff works together perfectly. You know, posture attacks with the Vengeful Foe, where you instantly charge them, oh my god, it's just insane. All you have to do is play to see what I'm saying. But like I said, it does require you to get a little bit further in the game, but it is so worth it. And let me show you what's on my mastery. I'm using the long katana, and basically there are only a few abilities that I have unlocked right now. And because all of your gear can be upgraded to whatever level you are, that's why this is an in-game build, because I don't see anything conquering this playstyle on any level if you're on level. But I just love using these abilities right here, the sheath attacks that become posture attacks and increase your damage, along with the adrenaline gain. So you can just basically pick whatever you like, whatever makes you feel comfortable in battle. Of course, I have the Naginata. This impel skill is amazing because once you impel them, and if you impel them against the wall, they're going to get knocked down on the ground. You could perform a ground attack, which insta-kills them pretty much. Also, this one that has an area of denial, Crescent Strike. And if you upgrade this, it inflicts 35% bleed buildup. Oh man. Yeah. So I don't really have to go over these abilities. These are per your discretion. However you want to use them is entirely up to you. And if you're at this level, you're going to have all of this stuff unlocked. When it comes to ranged weapons, I didn't really want to go into that, okay? Because this build is all melee. I don't even find a reason to use ranged weapons in this build, but I do have a crazy ranged build that I'm making for Yasuke right now, and I know you guys may find it a little difficult to get the Crimson Edge, meaning that there's a student that you have to fight. He wields a typo, you're wielding a typo, and he's higher level than you. And 9 times out of 10, if you fought against him or if you're having trouble against him, he's probably 3 or 4 levels higher than you, and he one-shots you using the most cheesy methods. I just made a build that goes over exactly how to beat him, techniques and strategies that will allow you to get past him so you can attain the Crimson Edge. That is in this video right here. So if you're interested in seeing that, check this video right here and it'll take you straight there. Anyways, that'll do it for this build. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't leave anything out. If you want to add anything in the comment section below, let me know. Also, if you've made any Yasuke builds, please share them below. That'll do it for this one, fam. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.